Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. In a previous episode, we covered pre-rendering. Now, the two types of pre-rendering that we want to cover in this course is static generation and the other one server-side rendering. Now, with server-side rendering, all it means is HTML is generated on every request. Now, static generation, on the other hand, is it basically generates all the HTML at build time, and that HTML will basically be used for every request. All right, so if you run the build command, if you open up your terminal and just create a new one, so if you run npm run build, so this will basically run an optimized version of your app right there for production. Now that part basically generates the HTML and that will be served for every request. Now server-side rendering, on the other hand, is we use it when you have data that's continually changing. Now, let's say you have a financial website where indicators, markets, or whatever, the data is continuously changing every minute or every couple of seconds. Now, server-side rendering will be useful for that, since it will need to basically every request it updates the page. Okay, so what we're going to deal with now is static generation. So as you can see, we've got articles right here, and what we want to do is we want to hit an endpoint API and get all the articles and display those articles right there. But what we want to do is we want to check the page source to check if we actually so in the initial load, we actually load the data as well. Right, so API that we're going to use is called Json Placeholder, a free fake API for testing and prototyping. So what we want to do is we go down. I will leave a link for you guys in the description. So they got a couple of endpoints. 6 common resources is the post, comments, albums, photos, to-dos, and users. The one that we want to focus on is the post right here. So if I click on it, as you can see, we get different kinds of posts, title and body, and the user IDs right there. I'll leave a link for you guys in the description. So let's build this out. Right, so I'm just going to copy that URL. Right. All right, so let's go to that page right here, the articles page. So under articles, we will know the index page is basically the one that we're viewing right here. So let's quickly go in there. So how do we get all the data from an API? So there is a method. So we're going to call export async getStaticProps. Right, so this is a method in Next.js called getStaticProps. Right, so just make export async function getStaticProps. Now this part right here can only be done inside your pages. It cannot be basically used in any of the other components. It can only be done in your pages to get data, because getStaticProps only runs on the server side. For the guys from a Laravel background, just think of this as a public function that we're getting in Laravel, and then we're going to get the post, and then we just want to get all the posts right here. So I'm going to leave this quickly for reference because there's a couple of things I want to mention. Now in here, we need to do a couple of things. The first thing is we want to basically hit this API of that. All right, so let's go and get the data. So we're just going to create a constant, and in this one, we're just going to say a response. All right, and then we're going to wait, and then we're going to say fetch. All right, so then we're going to fetch basically at that domain right here. So I'm obviously leave a link for you guys in the description. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here. All right. Now think of this part right here as this part. So we're getting all the data. All right. The next thing is we're going to set that data to a variable. All right. This variable right here. So it's this one right here. So we're going to set that data. So you can call it articles or whatever. So in this case, I'm just going to set it to data. And I'm going to equal that to the response that we get right there. And we just want to save it in JSON format like this. All right. So that's basically what we have done right now. This part right here is we're getting all the posts, and this part right here is we setting this post to that response data, just like this right now. All right, but we haven't included this data inside the view. All right, so how do we do that? So in Next.js, we have to return. All right, so if you guys remember in here, what we do is we return a view. All right, so let me just do this. All right, so then we return a view, and then we put obviously the view, and then this. But so obviously this don't work in here, but I just want to give you guys an example. All right, so remember this part right here is not part of our component. I'm just using it as an example because my community is Laravel, so I just wanted to explain it to them. All right, so what we do now is we return, all right, an object. Now inside this object, so basically think of it now, we're creating a return. All right, so this is the return right here. So in here, we return a props. Okay, so we're setting it as this right part right here. So we're working on the compact right there. So now the compact, and what do we set the props to? Now the props, basically, this can be any key value pairs. So I just need to make that as colon right there. So props to an object. Now this can be anything. So in this case, I want to create, this is the name that we want to use inside there. Okay, so what do we want to set this to? So if you call this something else, right, something, all right, we want to set this something to the data right there. Okay, so this is what we call it, and this what we call right here is what we set that to that data. Okay, so we just want to set it to that data right there. Okay, so in this case, I want to be consistent with what I receive. So in this case, I'm going to receive articles right there. All right, so now this articles we're going to use inside our articles right there. So we can just bring in that articles like this. All right, so now this articles, because of this right here, it's available inside our view right there. Okay, so that's all it is. So let me just delete this part right here. Now remember, Next.js is component based, so everything works with components. Now as you can see, I have many articles, so it means I need to create a component for a single article. So let's do that. So let's open up. So inside our components right here, we're just going to create a new file called article.js. All right, so let's return this. So just going to create one quickly. So I'm just going to create an arrow function article right here. So in here, I'm going to receive a prop for a single article like this. And then we're just going to create in here an h1 and a paragraph. All right, so how do we access this article right here? So all we basically do is we add the article like this with a dot notation, and then we want to say what property do we want to access. Okay, so in this case, remember with blade syntax, what we have done, we will have done that, double bracket this side, double there, and then we would render it basically. But for us right here, all we do is just single brackets like this, and then article, and then a dot notation for the title. And we're going to do the same for the paragraph. So just like this, and then article dot body. All right, but just remember we need to receive this article. All right, but we're going to pass it through in a second. All right, and I just want to add some classes in here. All right, now we need to bring in this article because this article is part of our components right there. So inside our index right here, we need to make use of that article. So I'm going to remove this. All right, and I'm going to bring in that article. So let's do that. So import article. So as you can see, I'm bringing it in from our components article right there. But now what we want to do is we want to, in Laravel, we would have done add for each. All right, we would have done a loop like that. But in JavaScript, what we do is we need to call on the map method. Right, so to curly braces like this, and then what we do is articles, the articles right there. So we want to loop over that. So we call a dot map like this, and then we just want to create two parentheses, and inside this parentheses we want to call it. We want to call this an article, and then in there we just want to create an arrow function like this. Then inside this we want to return. All right, what do we want to return? We want to return basically that article that we just this component right here. So let's quickly do that. So we're just going to bring that article in, but just remember we're expecting this article now because we're mapping over this articles, what we're expecting an article. So what we want to do is we want to pass this article because we're going to receive it as a prop, this article. So let me copy it and paste it in here so you guys can see. So article, and I want to set that basically to this article right here. Okay, just like this. So if you name this art, all right, then just make sure that you put this as art as well. Totally up to you, because where this is just coming from, this is the name that we want to give everything that we map over. All right, so an article, then pass in the article. Let me just create a div for everyone as well. And then I just want to bring this in there, just like that. Okay. This part right here, I forgot to add a weight right there. So if I save that and I refresh this right here, so as you can see, we got all our articles right here. So we got articles right there with the title and everything in between right here. Okay, awesome stuff. Now the thing that I want to show you is if I go to right click right here and I go to page source right here. So as you can see, it actually pre-renders that via static generation. Okay, the HTML with the data beforehand. And this wouldn't have happened if you had the React app, because all the data would be done client-side via JavaScript and hydrate basically our app page right here. Okay, so awesome stuff. So that is basically static generation. So as you can see, everything done right here. All right, so thank you guys for watching. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and do all the other YouTube stuff. See you guys in the next one. Adios.